a few errors only. No, well, who knows? Fair enough. Alright, so now we're going to talk about the 4 phases to language development. I have a special guest with me, so if you would please introduce yourself, that would be kind of awesome. Ohio! So, Nerdy Me, can you tell me a little bit about language development? I mean, the 4 phases of language development, that is. Well, there's 4 phases in language development which occurs in babies, so, yeah, what do you want to know? Really? That's all? I mean, even I have more info on this paper than what you have. What you remember. Well, let's see. You're the one with paper, but I'm the one with myself, so I don't really know how that works out. Fine, but yeah, just go, okay? Let's go. Yeah, you know. Anyways, like me, I mean, like everyone else, I need my paper too, so I'm just gonna get my paper right now. Alright, so let's begin. Are you ready? There are 4 phases to language development. In the first phase, but with the inability to display such behavior, the fetus cannot go towards the sound or things it sees until it begins to crawl. I also think this is the motivation for the baby to talk, because honestly, talking makes it much more easier to communicate. The mother's tongue becomes the infant's tongue, even the infant is raised with multiple cultures speaking different languages. And Effect may explain this and why, but it's very complex. The second phase is when the infant's first speech sounds like a recognizable word at first, but may also be interpreted as a phase. So I guess this is the first step towards saying something, don't you think? However, those are only simple phrases in which people around the infants hear, such as "open the door" or "where is it?" So redundant, I know, but so it's not really a leap towards something amazing yet. I think there are also some overused sentences in the voices of adults which babies can hear. So yeah, you know, the redundant hellos, goodbyes. Anyways, in the third phase, around 2 years after birth, a specifically linguistic module emerges in the brain. Instead of reproducing what they have heard, they are now computing words from word elements. They are learning what we do with past tense and plural words. Finally, children discover phonemes, and the phonological principle that the thousands of words in language are merely different sequences. Alright, so children are then learning thousands of vocal patterns and then combining the 40 or so phonemes in which English is composed, according to American Census, 1994. Children make grammatical mistakes between the 20th and the 36th month. So, of course, people have to make mistakes. So, I mean children, but whatever. So, the last phase, phase 4, is when children are on schedule to activate a great deal with moral linguistic knowledge and to manipulate it with increasing and flourishing ease. The children are then starting to sound more and more like the adults they are copying. As long as they have someone who are reasonable, nurturing talkers, the babies will talk themselves into a language. I think responsibility is a prominent thing, and babies should always be provided with this. So, thank you so much, Nerdy Me. Thank you, everyone. Take your leave now.
Señor, hola. Buenas tardes. ¿Cómo estás? Muy bien. Probably don't even know what I'm saying. Alright, shut up, guys. Shut up. Alright, one more time.
So what about a second language? There are many different ways children can be exposed to a secondary language. I think the most obvious one is from the interactions with people who speak another language. Researchers believe that there is a sequence that children follow in acquiring a first language in a consistent way. Children who acquire 2 languages simultaneously have the same stage of development as they would with people who speak the same language, but only the language which makes them monolingual. For children, 2 starting languages are present when they are first born at their exact home. For other ones, a secondary language starts once they enter early childhood education programs such as preschool or kindergarten. And this is from McLaughlin in 1995. Unless your parents are English-speaking parents, then I guess everyone is bilingual, in the U.S. that is. The amount of exposure or influence that have all differ between each child. The amount of exposure or influence they have all differ between each child. In some cases, children are equal in exposure to 2 or more language, while one language predominates and exposed over any other. In addition, children who are bilingual in preschool will most likely learn the language that's being spoken to them, depending on their background. Like the stages of language development for a first language. There are stages for a second language too. This is called bilingual development progression. The first phase is when the child uses the native or natural home language. That's the first phase. I think this is how all babies start out. The second phase is when a child abandons their language by attempting to not talk at all if they choose to. I think that means moving to a new place because the new place speaks a whole new language. Well, I mean the people in the new place speaks a whole new language. The third phase is when the children is ready to go out with other people publicly. The fourth and final phase is when the children demonstrates an understanding of the syntactic system of the language, or when the child reaches the point where he or she uses the language productively. I think this is when the child already has a good understanding of the language that she is learning. Parents are an influence to language development. Past studies have shown that the amount and quality that children are exposed to a language early in development pertains to the child's later language development and academic success. I think this is important because your childhood does affect everything, and to get a head start in language development, perhaps language development is the first development of the communication right after birth, means that you'll at least be up to a sufficiency. Adolescent mothers, compared to adult mothers, are at a risk because they use less words and more of a controlling utterance in their interactions with children, using a speech-verbal tone. I think that mothers that are still young tend to use words that are casual and not really intellectual or educational, and not to mention their vocabulary blanks are as wide as an adult mother, and not to mention their vocabulary blanks aren't as wide as adult mothers either. This will eventually make infants vocalize less and what's to become. This is why many parents think about their child and if they are language delayed, without knowing about how the age of the mother affects the birth. They would preferably and most likely compare their child's words to their neighbors and at a certain similar age. Parents should also read more and watch less TV if their duty is to maximize and mostly benefit their child's potential in learning, because watching television may slow down development. I think development depends on what the television is offering, and accordingly, language development relates to the intelligence and later success in school, which is the same thing, but okay. As long as normal range is required, there is nothing to worry about, according to Pediatrics for Parents in 2009. Socioeconomic classes are always present, so there are socioeconomic issues involved in lower and higher classes. The lower classes are less vocalized than the higher classes. I think this can relate back to the adolescent mothers and the adult mothers. That makes children with mothers who have low verbal interactions will result in babies being the same. That's why it is important to keep the mother's verbal level to a maximum to ensure the interactions with their infants are good. Other it is affected by verbal position and level. I think fathers should hold the same responsibility as well, because he will also affect the baby's vocabulary. Also, the interaction between the mother and her infant depends on how old the mother is and how different status of people affect the baby's outcome. The hazards of language development would be that watching movies such as Baby Einstein videos, or just videos in general, will harm the baby, according to a new study. This is because video manufacturers made outlandish claims about evidence of the video without giving much benefits, according to the Denver Post in 2007. Well, considering the fact that the majority of television is junk and trifling, I think this does prove a point. Study also shows that parents who watch too much TV will result in something bad for the kid, because watching TV progresses in less development for babies. So this is how language development starts in both unborn and born babies. This affects us all, actually. Language development is a unique thing in which we all are born with. With life's greatest miracle, we can get language development. Language development happens before birth, perhaps even before anyone knows. Unborn fetuses have the characteristics, too. Language development is like a dream come true, and that's how we know how to speak, listen, understand, and even react to verbal circumstances. Language is a powerful thing, and communication is prominent. With language, there is a form of communication. Language development may not be seen as important or something we should care about because eventually everyone will know a language, but it is very interesting for the most part. This was just to inform you why.
I'm a dude who likes girls because I'm single. I wonder if she likes me too because I'm bilingual. But anyways, genotypic is phenotypic, and now you know I'm neolithic. Genetics as an incorporation to the early language acquisition is it an ability or just a premonition? One half from father, one half from mother, this is genetic. Just like a charge, the cathode and the anode becomes magnetic. Dominant recessive, this is obsessive, so we respect. Homozygous recessive, heterozygous dominant. Diploids are important, but haploids are just as prominent. Unexclusion as he hears the words I don't care. The study of life involving life is a miracle. Absolute value of a genital with 2 testicles.